congratulations on at last.
Thank you. Thanks for having us here.
No, I feel watching the film, what occurred to me is that every coming out story is unique, and I think the film illustrates that really well. But tell me a little bit about what inspired the script and how autobiographical it might be. I'm just guessing.
Sure. Yeah. So semi-autobiographical. It's not how my prom went in any way. But when I was thinking of the next project I wanted to make, I wanted something personal, and up to that point, I had yet to come out. So like at this point in my life, I was already out and living proud, and I felt like it was time to tap into my queer identity and write something that was from the heart and where I can explore, coming out. And high school just seemed like the right place to do it, and prom, out of all the nights in high school or events in high school, I think that was the one that kind of, I wish I could go back in time and relive and kind of have it happen, have the courage to come out like our main character and live her truth, which I didn't do my senior year of high school.
So was that one of the reasons why we see at the beginning it's set in 2009?
Yes. Yeah. And I felt like the world was just completely different than, and there was no social media. So I think that too would have been a different story if we said it today, because of social media and all of that.
So AJ, tell me a little bit about how and when you became involved in the project and why it was something you wanted to be part of.
Yeah, well, I became involved and invested as soon as I read the script, like the first draft. I'm like, cool. I love it. Let's make it. It was really as simple as that. Lorena tends to be a great dramatic writer. She writes great stories that pull on your heartstrings, and even on paper, before the actors come in and everything, like you feel it, and it's emotional, and it's quite a roller coaster ride. And seeing things from a different perspective as a straight male, and then having Lorena write these words that make me feel things. I'm like, oh wow, that's incredible. And then being her first phone call when she came out, and all these stories that we might touch on, but learning from that angle, I think, is just very important. And I would love to be an ally and share. And I think it's important because high school is important for kids. It's like it's the end all be all when you're 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So I think it's important to go out and feel accepted and show that acceptance is possible, and it's okay to be who you are, and you'll find that true friend or your core group of people that you can rely on and be there for one another. So it's possible. So I think that's when I was just like, yes, let's do it. Let's make it.
So was AJ the first person that you called when you came out?
So I came out when I first moved out here to Los Angeles. I think I was 22 or 23. It was Valentine's Day.
I happened to be in New York at the time.
Yeah.
So we flip-flopped.
So yeah, it was Valentine's Day, and I just felt like I couldn't carry this burden anymore. It was just so unhealthy, and I grabbed the phone and called him. So that scene when she's coming out to her dad is verbatim our conversation and what was said when I came out. Yeah, very special.
And there's a very touching friendship kind of at the heart of the film. Tell me a little bit about creating that and putting it on screen, and also casting it too.
Yeah, so something else that I'm really passionate about is visibility and the disability community, and them telling their stories, right? So I was very fortunate to work with actors with Down syndrome on the Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge, and just getting to know them and how passionate they are about their craft. It was just so inspiring, and I knew, and growing up, like you said, we're from Queens, and being in a public school system, you're surrounded by everyone. Everyone. It's like it is what it is. That's your world, and you have a classmate who has a disability, and it was just kind of normal for me. So I felt very passionately about incorporating that into the script and have James be her best friend and kind of that cheerleader, and it's a friendship that we can all aspire to, and I wish I had as well. So it just came from this urge of wanting to see just our reality depicted on screen. So I had seen Peanut Butter Falcon, and then I I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to send him the script, and he loved it and jumped on board immediately.
I love the visual style of the film, and I think I said to you afterwards, it really looks like a big budget Hollywood movie. And I think one of the important things about that in some ways is that we don't really get to see many queer stories told on that scale very often. So tell me a little bit about the inspiration for the visual style, how you got that, and were there any movies in particular that inspired you?
Sure. There was a lot of inspiration from John Hughes in that kind of, teen world, and even with the color palette that we chose with our cinematographer. So we had Dean Cundy, who is this incredible cinematographer and just the most incredible man ever. He, has worked on just
every movie you've seen pretty much growing up. From like the 80s and 90s.
So I knew visually he understood what I was going for, and when we went over storyboards and all of that, I mean, he just got it, and obviously added his input as well. So it was just a delightful collaboration with him, and studying like the 16 Candles, the Pariah too was another inspiration, but just putting our own twist in it. So it was color palette and just tonally too. It was trying to see. I always say this is like if John Hughes were to make an LGBTQ film for this generation. That's how I like to put it.
That's the goal.
And the music's important too, isn't it? Tell me a bit about your music choices and getting the rights as well.
Oh yeah, that was tough, as you can imagine. But I tend to write with a playlist that I'll listen to while writing the script, and I was already married to these songs, which is probably for producers and a pain. But I had these songs that I needed to have in the script, so it was a process. But luckily, we had crowdfunded our film, so we're so grateful to all our contributors, and that was the way that we were able to get the music and get this whole film off the ground. But and it was also reaching out to the artists, who I had shared the film with, and they approved and loved it, and so it was a collaboration and teamwork of getting it done.
Yeah, so we thank you guys for your help.
And the film played here at Outfest. It was a brilliant atmosphere, an in-person screening too, which is obviously a rarity these days. Over the last 18 months or so. So, what was it like being here for that, and also being part of the program that the film was part of?
Yeah, Outfest was the first film festival I attended when I moved out here. So it was like a full circle moment to be able to be here, not as a spectator, but as a spectator and filmmaker. It's a completely different experience, and it was such an honor when we were invited to screen the film here. I mean, being able to share that theater experience or that audience experience with people who can so relate to the material, and they have their own coming out story, and it's so much fun hearing that was my story, or this is how I came out, but I wish my parents could have reacted that way. So it's very just moving to be able to resonate with this crowd. Outfest brings out just an incredible crowd, so we're honored to be here.
And what about the program itself was LATINXCELLENCE, right?
Yes.
So did that feel quite an empowering thing to have the film play as part of that specific program?
Oh, absolutely. All the films were just, incredible and so moving in their own respective ways. We were talking about this, with the rest of the team. It was such an honor to be, packed in there, and having that, because we don't see our stories told as often, it was really empowering to be, with a group of 6 or 7, filmmakers who are changing the game and telling our stories and seeing representation of our Latinx community.
And how did each of you get involved in filmmaking initially, and what was the draw for you creatively of being involved in film?
Sure. I always grew up loving film, enjoying it very much. Big fan of film. got into like the acting aspect of it, but really my heart is as a musician, so that's what I do. That's since I was like 12 years old, seriously. So took that on, and then once Lorena kind of grew into her own and found her calling, which ended up being filmmaking, I kind of got sucked into it. So we can blame Lorena for that. No, and then yeah, that's how I got into it. That's where we are now, is because of Lorena's storytelling and her love for filmmaking and just grabbing a camcorder and just making things and standing our cousins in positions and just like really shooting her own stuff in the very beginning as a kid, and then at around college we started like making films.
Yeah, and for me it was at the age of 8 is when I first saw my first live action film, which was Titanic. And I realized two things. One, that I wanted to be a filmmaker, and one, that I was gay. So there was two like aha moments. And I felt, because I was hiding who I was, the only way I could express myself was through visual images, right? Through telling stories with a camera or writing. So it became so cathartic for me, and like therapy. So I just love that, and it's become my escape ever since. So since the age of 8, just making short films and gathering friends and telling stories.
Yeah, talking about Titanic giving you that realization, it makes me think of the Superman movies when I was a kid, and Lois Lane in Superman. That's kind of when I realized. Wait, is there a specific moment in Titanic?
The car scene with the Jack and Rose. I was like, I want to be Jack. Even though Leonardo DiCaprio is very handsome, but I was like, I want to, yeah.
Well, we need a queer version of Titanic, don't we?
Yeah.
Yes. And is this a film that you would like to adapt into a feature, or would you have ambitions to make another feature?
Yeah, no, we're super excited. We're finishing up the script for the feature. So yeah, I always knew there was so much more to the story, but I had to make the short first. I knew that I could pull that off more than a feature at that point. So.
And there were a lot of things that we cut too. So there's more to the film, to the short, that that ended up on the cutting room floor just for the sake of time and making it a short. So yeah. So there's more to it.
So stay tuned.
That's the next thing.
The feature.
And you're both welcome to answer this one if you like to. It's for your favorite piece of LGBTQ plus culture, or a person who identifies as LGBTQ plus. So someone or something that's had an impact on you and resonated with you over the years, and why?
Yeah. So the film that I saw, I think I was maybe 20 at this point, when I saw Pariah. I remember being in the theater and just feeling seen. And again, at this point, I'm closeted, so just being able to live through this character, it was so powerful, and you could tell it came from such a personal place. So that film meant everything to me, and it's still one of my favorite films of all time. And a queer person, Pedro Almodovar, I think was the first time I'd ever seen someone in the director's chair that was not straight, and he, and my mom loved his film, so I was like, maybe she'll still accept it, so it was kind of that. But yeah, I love everything he's so unapologetically himself, and I love that,
And for me, I'd say I'd have to fall back onto music, is what I know best. I would say David Bowie, very androgynous, very just himself, and I think that he opened up paths to kind of express yourself however which way. So I think that was incredible to me. It's very eye-opening. Very, like, I almost want to say very loud, but not in a positive way. Like, he certainly wasn't simple, So I think, the way he dressed, how outspoken he was, and how intelligent he was, I think is very important for everyone to enjoy and see that, you are who you are, but it's the art that really should translate, and you do what you will with it.
Well, Lorena, AJ, thanks very much for chatting today, and also congratulations on At Last.
Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Thanks, James.
It was a pleasure.